Back at it. So here is where I left off last. Australia, just a picture of it. Maybe I'm a little big now. Let me get at it. Be a little guy. Be a little guy in the corner just like this. Hello, everyone. That's pretty solid, right? That's probably a pretty good size. That's fine, whatever. Let's make it a little more reasonable, I guess. Maybe give a shout out. I always block their name. Cesium Earthbite Institution Oceanography and Series. Okay. 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 So I left off though saying here's a nucleus, which means like the core is here and the supported plate of Australia is supported on the pillar of this structure here as the nucleus, and talking about how there's carving through patterns, and it's definitely complex, but there's certainly like I'm seeing them, and it's just a matter of like connecting this one with that one, because like I noticed here this is probably part of a flow that was another one, and like there's one here for sure that just cuts right there, and then like maybe right there. So if at some point the magnetic field was really really tight, maybe building into like the moment of supernova, as it kind of the magnetic field spun in on itself and then just exploded. Before I forget this thought, because it is important, let me open up this map. Okay. I was trying to think, wait, what's going on here? Like, why would there be this beam involved in this figure eight? Like, it's because of the figure eight for sure is causing a focused beam. So I'm kind of thinking, like, because the waves are kind of clapping, they're kind of clapping, but they're clapping like real long and narrowly clapping. Like to a point where, at least like this far, like maybe around here, where it then emits but it's a narrow one, but I believe what it's doing is the same as here, where this nova and this nova were clapping together, like which was then producing a beam. But this one's just like a single thing, but this is a entire infinite flow pattern clapping. So even though it's not two novas, so the novas produce like the arrow looking thing, but this is an like infinite structure clapping. So instead it produces tiny novas that are very, very like precisely directed, and anything that's not in that range is just part of the clapping. Like I think, or does that not make sense? Because they're kind of not clapping, they're more spreading. Unless they're coming in this way. Yeah, they're coming in this way, right? I'm pretty sure they're coming in this way, so they are kind of clapping. Okay. Okay. Which is interesting. I would have thought it was more like it was like the flow itself. Wait. Let me make sure that that statement I just made is correct. I know I already drew arrows, so my dumb booty self. Okay, they're coming out this way, although, did I just assume that? Because this flow is coming in this way. This flow is coming in this way, so this one makes sense. Like if this flow is getting to the nucleus, it must be going this way, so that should be creating a and this one as well, like there's another attachment here which would be going into the nucleus, so these two should be creating a flow generally this way, which then would have produced this. So are they clapping? They're actually separating. I mean, they're clapping here. Maybe it's something of that nature, but now I'm not so sure. It does kind of make sense, what I said, but it doesn't actually quite clap, although at the same time, I mean, the novas do clap, like their forces are like colliding. Like here's a nova with a force over this way, colliding with this one. So off of this point spawns this arrowhead from the collision of these waves. So could that be happening somehow here? Unless it's creating a anti-clap, and instead of being what I thought it was, it's pulling it in down a very precise narrow path, and maybe that's why these like legs are carved. Actually, that makes sense. So I said before that it was flowing outward. I did notice, and I chose this one. I was like, see how, like, if you were here and got hit by this, like, you would do this too, but you wouldn't, because, like, if you were just elongated here, you would have gone this way. So I noticed it too. Don't worry if you noticed it and are watching. It does look like the flow is actually, pardon me, going inward from here. So it's pulling a very narrow flow that even maybe for an equal but opposite reason that if I think through in a second will explain why it branches off still. Like it's pulling so much flow this way that it meets a resistance of how much flow can come this way. Like it can't pull anymore from this path without also pulling sideways paths. So then all three start getting pulled. I also noticed I said like they do side and then all of them go forward, but I think they all branch simultaneously. So they're all flowing inward simultaneously. Like initially it just started flowing from here. Like the once the current started going, it starts pulling in and in and in and in and in. And then once it reaches here, it can't really pull in more of a here without like an imbalance, and so to balance it out it actually pulls in from 90-degree angles sideways, which then does the same thing of pulling in again out to a point where that meets resistance, and then just at that point, based on the precision of what's happening, this then causes the structure we see, I guess, of all the nuances that... Okay, so that's good. That's huge progress after my somewhat huge mistake, although it's no one knows I'm talking, really. So it's only been... really no time in anyone's perception in some way. Although people listening who caught it will probably be like, brah, you're missing things. We could do this better. Well, then, get on it. Please. At your leisure, of course, maybe pop some champagne if you want. So it does seem to do that, where it pulls in to a certain degree and then it can't pull in anymore without branching out. Then it pulls in, can't do it anymore without branching out, pulls in. Okay, and then it causes a leg here. This is reminiscent of Himalayas, where the current coming in this way from up here, coming in through here, through northern Russia region. Siberian traps are like here-ish, which probably just, I think maybe are partly because of just like pooling here that just was forced to the surface in some ways. But besides the point, it came this way, and then it hit this resistance, where it deflected this way, went into, caused this magnetic anomaly, and then went this way. But interestingly, I found yesterday or so, the Himalayas have a very distinct vibrational characteristic to them, where they are vibrational. Not just there, but this goes up, this goes down. It really across the whole thing, and then it connects over here, and it's just like here, and has different wavelengths. We can see like one here that meets again with one here, right here-ish, and then it branches out. There's all sorts of geometry here, but so I was like, what? I'm like, okay, there's a stream coming this way. Like, why would it do that? Well, I know there's a flow coming out of here, going up this way, going this way, going this way, going around here, and then it's going into this region where it fills up and it physically, like this barrier, a current is here, so it holds this barrier as it forms, and as this barrier forms, because of this current flow, this then fills up more with more and more pressure, because this is kind of just forcing material in this inlet, because the flow from the mantle is here, so it's just forcing material this way. But because this wall is just held firm by this current, and also this wall and this wall by this current, and so this is doing a similar thing. But this current comes in, fills even maybe this whole region, if we consider this wall is not really quite as held by counter forces. Like doesn't seem, I guess this current really probably is just going over top this enough to create a secondary wall here, so that's probably what's going on. But this flows in here, and then it goes, basically as the pressure builds in this region, what occurs is this structure, which is facing a current from above, colliding with the current from below. This structure just vibrates like up and down, up and down. And as it does, the current that's going around here will go down and up and down and up, and create this like separation that then propagates outward in a wave pattern across the Himalayas. Even over here, it even goes out here, up here, up here, and like right to here. And it goes from here all the way over here, right to here. Like it connects major like wavelengths or half a wavelength. Like it has geometric and all trigonometry things of like importance that besides the point, though, I'm just pointing it out right now to really bring the concept of this vibrational like balance point. So let's bring that over here to the legs coming out of this angel structure. in the Pacific, where there is a current, now that we understand it, because I was mistaken on the direction it was flowing, a current coming this way. And some reason, when it goes through here, it's caused to go this way, or it goes through here and it's caused to go this way, dependent on... It may just be from which side of the loop it's coming from. Like, if it's coming more from this side, it'll tend in this direction. That's probably it, actually. It might just be this figure eight. This figure eight, maybe it gets, part of its current doesn't go in again. It just goes over here and around it and gets sent off as like gravity, or just gravitationally orbits around it and just gets sent off. Same over here. This current comes around and it like misses it and comes around enough to come down this way, maybe. This thing, this is like the drainage point, though, where like the current is most exponentially flowing through, I guess, into the system. Everywhere else, it's just kind of like not quite necessarily in the whirlpool of the torrent flowing into the nucleus, even though it's got this whole figure eight thing going on. This flow right here is what's probably like actually going in, and even anything from here is probably like pulled into this thread that then just kind of just maybe disappears inside and builds mass. Like this flow is just upwelled for some reason, so it doesn't really have a continuation below, because I was thinking it would be related to these initially, but maybe it's just not. And maybe there's not a vibrational characteristic to it of that nature, although maybe there's some kind of thing like tied to it of that could be vibrational. But I was thinking, let's look at this a bit. Like, for sure, I would say, let's find, like, the biggest probable nucleus. I mean, maybe it could be all the way out here, even. Like, who knows? Maybe it's just the whole thing was just a stable... It was just stable, and it just started carving in. So it was like a... Like a noble gas. Like, it didn't need any electrons because it was just filled with all this material. But now it's like it needs some electrons, so it's got like bonds to other systems that like stabilize its voids in some way by blocking currents that would probably flow in here too much or something. Pretty much blocking like the ocean's currents enough to like prevent erosion into here, I guess, maybe something of that nature. Acting as a electron to keep the system stable, because there's not as much supporting structure in some places, like here, but it's still stable, relatively. I also noticed, really interesting, this magnetic field. It skips like here, or this here. I guess it's not the magnetic field. This might be just going around. This is going around Australia, but interestingly, the current entering into Australia underneath it, which hits the resistance of Australia, bends around it, and crazy, it hits the resistance. So if we follow this like deep blue, and it takes steps, like incremental movements, like it's not able to get over that mound, and then it does, not able to get over it, and then it does, and it sits there though, and it just kind of gouges into a region, and it does, and it just skips. So we can kind of follow its trail. But interestingly, like when it hits the magnetic field here, it doesn't just like, it kind of does, so it like ignores it in some way. Like there is a current into it that just like pushes on through pretty much. Like each, probably it's kind of like, like an army of current flowing this way, where like the front one gets deflected but the ones behind it keep going, and they just are able to carve this like pathway where most of it goes this way though, but there is like a current across it. But then it seems to deflect around the magnetic field and bounce out here a bit, which is interesting. The current. So the current actually is influenced by the magnetic field, which makes sense because a magnetic field is a current of material, particles. I feel like someone said that sometime. I can't remember who it was. I don't know. I think it was probably the reason they quit their job, though. Yes. Oh my god. Ain't that just grand how... What is the word I'm looking for? Like redemption, maybe? So you're saying this magnetic field is not caused by particles? Oh, like it was. Yeah, seriously though. That's fun. That's just proof positive magnetic fields are composed of particles. I mean, sure, they're composed of smaller particles, which at some point reach a point where they enter the realm of waves, and we can say that there is a aspect of reality like that. But in terms of like they are composed of the same thing as like stars, that type of particle, which is in our perception atoms that are flowing here in this instance. In most magnetic fields, it's ether particles that are subtle enough that they can pass through the systems, like the atoms, and then they bend back like this. And there's just so many of them that the collective flow, just like this, not a single particle. I tell people like gravity causes magnetic fields, and they're like, well, gravity is weak. I'm like, well, not a single part. I'm not talking like a single particle's like figure eight orbital is accumulating. I mean, maybe on some infinite dimension where there's also all things considered, maybe it is the case. But like that's not what I'm getting at. I'm more so like this. Like there's many atoms here, and they're flowing together. So gravity then is clearly just currents. It's just we've been experiencing a continuous enough current where in our surroundings where we just see it as constant. Because essentially like there's probably a body, a polygon, generally speaking. Like to imagine a magnetic field where there's like a Earth, like here's Earth. It even looks kind of circular there for some reason. Let's say here's Earth and here's its magnetic field. I said gravity causes it because here's Earth and here's a particle, and this system blocks a portion of the flow from the surroundings. So in this instance, maybe it produces a relatively uniform flow from all directions. At least on a layer, maybe not on the layer we're looking at directly. I'm just trying to like somehow think about how these currents I've been looking at could like be like, and therefore gravity. Because gravity definitely causes magnetic fields. And gravity is essentially like a system blocking current from one side that's essentially is a uniform current in all directions, from all directions, from all directions, a current that's uniform. So maybe that's important also, that there is a current from all directions. And then when there's multiple systems like Earth and then another tiny little infinitesimal particle, this particle is just overwhelmed by the forces like into it, but then it just passes through it just like these currents, right on through it and out the other side, where it's meeting this current and getting pushed back into it. And then it does, just like I said, it really is the current. It's not really that it has gravity, it's just that it's blocking the current, and then the other, like the currents around it are pushing into it. Certainly a little more like open to the realization that we can modify gravity somehow. Create currents that cause uplift against gravity. Because essentially it's just a downward current. Gravity is just this, because the Earth is there, the flows from this direction are blocked somewhat, relatively. Although really, just the presence of the Earth isn't really what would be causing it. It's probably just the fact that there are currents from all directions-ish, maybe with an imbalance, like from 3 directions. Here, they're coming in here, and here maybe, or they're coming out here, but it does come in here too. It's very confusing because it looks like it comes this way and then comes in here. So this must be a little inlet, and then the outlet is more this way, where this stuff is. So it's got a little side inlet. Yeah, and then an outlet down the middle here. Inlet. Wait. Right? Maybe it doesn't actually flow in here. Like it did, but then once the currents were able to cut across it, maybe it didn't. Once it connected to this side, like while I was coming over here, it's like la la la, this is nice. There's no resistance really, just material. There's no current pushing against it because it's blocked by the nucleus that's getting carved into over here. This is just blocking. I think it goes out to like here, like the OG nucleus. Who knows how far out it goes? Maybe it's even like here, like a circle. Maybe it's not oval, and that's like it. Maybe it was more there, more like there. These are probably intermediary decays that are just captured over and over again, that are, who knows, like they look like a spiral, I think. Like it seems to generally produce nucleus, smaller ones going like this. Maybe even in an ammonite shell-like way, where this is like the ammonite center spiral section and it spirals out to here. Just a thought. It's not quite that shape. Or here is the center, and it spirals out to the nucleus. Oh, that actually makes sense. That makes sense. Here's the Ammonite center, and it kind of does look like it's spiraling out here. And then this thing. This tends to be... That's like the shape that Ammonites tend to have. Like, if we look at an Ammonite... Like this section. Like that's the nucleus, the new nucleus. That was the nucleus, maybe? So maybe the nucleus of Australia was actually here? And it's just gone. Its remnants are gone. It just destabilized. So then let's follow it though then, because it was probably here, and its decay path was probably like all these little things going out like this. Maybe. Like that for sure does look kind of. I gotta find a better picture, but this to me, like this is not. It doesn't make any sense. It's a perfectly formed like head-looking thing on a fossil, like considered to be just like happenstance. Like what? Like it's energy flows that do that. That then like store it with the rest of the energy flow as a single unit, because it is a single unit of energy flow. If we can find a good picture of this side of an ammonite, that's crazy. If that's like a real one, like that. Oh my god, it has little eyes. Whoa. I don't know if that's real. Like that. There we go. Let's see if we can even use this picture right here and maybe find similar structures to this. Let's see. It's gotta be somewhere I can look in it without... I guess I'll just do this. Whatever. Here, spiraling out to here-ish. So we would probably expect to see these like dendrite features this way. Here is kind of like here-ish. Right there, and then this certainly looks very much like that. And then it has another nucleus that was there. We found this one here. And then one maybe here even. There's one that looks like there's one that went out to here. Which is interesting because that's not, although that might just be from the currents. Although it does look like it was one. Like when I moused over it, it did kind of just have that. Like this looks like, that looks like it's one right there. So it probably is continued there. And it probably has a similar shape is up here, so it's back that way-ish, which then maybe there. So maybe it flows this way around here. There maybe even here and around here. I wonder if there should be pictures that get better like that, but like this could be someone equivalent to this, or this is like the retractor muscle they're pointing to in pink over here. This segment that wrapped around. And this is the gut and buccal mass. Maybe lower jaw. Head, body opening section. Fossil shells that have fallen into the Ammonite's chamber. This stuff, maybe. And then here we even see this. This here cuts in the siphuncle along the edge there. Probably wraps around this whole thing, really. This current probably does somewhat at least wrap around and come back in this way. Dudes. Alright then. Ammonite in Australia. Got it.